Hey everyone, it's Steve Richard. It is Friday afternoon, January 15th, 3:18 p.m. on a Friday when I'm recording this, which means it's time for a Bud Heavy here. We're gonna do some beer and call coaching because that's what I do on Friday afternoons. Let's make this happen. We're gonna go deep here. Sales development calls, breaking them down. As marketers listening to this, you're probably wondering, are my teams following up? What are they doing with all the leads that I'm producing? How come more of them aren't becoming opportunities getting in the funnel? We're about to answer those questions and answer questions about what are the best and most important skills for a sales development team. With that, let's go. This is a call shared by Peter Cook, one of our sales development reps. Awesome. Okay, so right off the bat, the first thing I'm looking at with this call is I want to get a sense for if he's having the right kind of conversation. There's a vocabulary of the top performers. We've set up some keyword topic trackers based on the transcript of what's happening in the call. He's talking about automation, which I love seeing in these spots right here. For the marketers there, he's asking about the lead source, which is great. Scheduling the next meeting, which is great. He's talking about challenges related to the buyer, which is great. So I'm going to light up a few of these things and let's let it rip.
Transportation Insight, this is Brian.
Hey, Brian, this is Peter over at Exec Vision. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. It looks like you were able to attend our webinar last Thursday. Is that correct?
I wasn't able to attend the full webinar. I registered for it, and I was waiting to. I received the recording, but I haven't actually viewed that yet.
Okay. I actually spoke with Glenn Donahue back in October and we had some time, but unfortunately that had to be canceled. Are you familiar with Exec Vision at all?
I am. Yeah, I follow you guys on LinkedIn, and your founder, you got some pretty cool things to share.
Yeah. Are you guys? I understand you guys are using Dialpad. Are you using like a conversation intelligence tool, kind of in conjunction with Dialpad?
No, we're not. We're not using Dialpad.
I love this. Let's talk about what's happening here as I break it down. And whenever you do call coaching, you want to try to be positive, productive first and foremost. I'm also going to be using a coaching framework called Observe, Describe, Prescribe that I learned from my friend Keenan. Shout out to Keenan. Check out Keenan, a sales guy. His stuff's awesome. So I'm simply going to be observing in a positive way a lot of the things that Pete's doing and a lot of things that are happening. He does an awesome job with the name drop. He does an awesome job saying, my understanding is you're using Dialpad. Turns out they're not. They're using something other than Dialpad, but the fact that he has some of that preliminary connecting information will get this prospect in a system too. This is textbook. It's a 9-minute cold call, so clearly this part of it is working.
We've changed to another dollar technology platform.
Okay. Are you overseeing the sales reps?
I'm overseeing the inside sales reps. We have a very small inside team of 5 people, and they're an outside team of a little over 30.
So he's getting the team structure, which is great. We love to see that he's qualifying against the team and the size. But the guy just said, we don't use Dialpad, we use another dialer. The most obvious thing there is, and this is where, shame on me, I should make my comment a little better. I'm going to use Observe, Describe, Prescribe. I'm going to switch this to Pete. And actually, I'm going to even tag him on this because I really want him to hear this. Pete, you do an awesome job getting him to say they switched to dialer, but you never asked what it is. All right, and that's using Observe, Describe, Prescribe. And now that we're into this a little bit, he's a little slow talker here, our prospect. I'm going to speed this thing up to 1.5 and crank it.
Okay, so inside team of 5 and outside 30. Would you want? I mean, I know you said you haven't seen the recording yet. Would you want to, I guess, take a look at the webinar recording and possibly reconnect either later this week or next, just to kind of take a deeper look into, how we could potentially help you guys?
Well, tell me a little bit more about how you guys help.
That one sort of surprises me. You go back to the webinar here. And ask him to listen to the recording. This is going to be one of those ones where I'm going to use the prescribe in the form of a question. I don't know why. We're doing asynchronous coaching here. Pete and I are not here at the same time doing it, but But this is one of those ones where we can sync up later on. I'll just be curious, like, hey man, why were you going to let the fish off the hook? I mean, this is a pretty good looking prospect here. Why were you going to tell him go back and listen to the recording when you got him? Now, fortunately, the prospect himself said, hang on, what do you do?
Because I know the webinar was, I got to listen to just a little bit of it before I had to jump off on another call. And it was all about, I guess, how to build a team, things to look for, things like that. But you mentioned you had some supporting things that was associated with a dialer technology. I'm curious what that is about.
Right. So what we do is we don't actually record the calls. What we do is we help teams leverage their call recordings so they live within a very user-friendly library where you can go look at the calls, whether they're a web conference or they're a phone call, highlight the calls, comment, annotate, share the calls, score the calls. And then we actually have some AI in there too that will, you can customize the verbiage that your team uses a lot, and based on what verbiage you put into the software, you can actually have calls sent directly to your inbox.
Yeah.
So there we go. So this is I like this messaging. I can see some of those topics lighting up around messaging related to challenges we solve for, messaging related to automation and software and the technology. This is some dang good messaging. So I'm actually going to highlight that green. And not only am I going to highlight it green, so this is a great job. But this is one of those ones where I want to make sure we don't lose that, because the way he phrased that, how succinct it was, really solid. I'm going to share this with a couple of people. I'm going to share this with our SDR. I'm going to share with some of the other SDRs on the team. So Angela Goldman here and that team for the rest of the SDRs. Angela's in marketing because I want her to hear that voice of the buyer, the lead, because again, this came from an inbound lead. So check out Pete's messaging here. Very good. All right, and I'm going to share just that selected highlight, just that snippet, so they can focus on that. I'm just going to say, Angela, please add to the Exec Vision Sales Library and tag it SDR training. So far, this is pretty good, pretty textbook with the exception of those things that were confusing. Let's keep going.
Is that similar to Gong?
Right. They're one of our competitors.
Gotcha. Yeah. I had a look at that. I tried to see if there was any interest internally, with a greater size sales team to do that. And at that point, we wasn't getting enough call recordings from them. We were able to get transcriptions, but not call recording. So now that we moved over to a different type of dialer to actually start getting more recordings that includes the outside sales team. So we just rolled that over in December. So once we get some verbiage, we get enough recordings under our belt on that, it might make.
Now, here's another thing that I'm doing here, because Pete has previously commented on his own call and broken it down. It's almost like a window into his brain. So as I'm listening, I want to see what he's saying. He's saying recording outside sales team tune started in December. No need to explain coaching intelligence, which is our other offering. They record, but I have to ask which dialer. So he's figuring out a lot of these things himself.
Since to look at something.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually, this year, funnily enough, like literally today's our first day that we're kind of rolling out this second thing that we're doing. Teams that, and I know you said you do have a dialer in place, but for teams that aren't recording calls, our technology is still applicable to, being able to coach, have, coaching plans, having managers being able to put all of that into, one system where it's very easy to go back with your reps and kind of go over what you said, even without the recordings. So there's definitely a duality, and if you have the recordings, that's obviously going to be more valuable. But if you don't, we still are doing coaching intelligence as opposed to traditionally conversation intelligence. But what dialing technology are you using? Just out of curiosity.
No, Connect Leader.
Connect Leader. Okay. I'm pretty sure we are actually integration partners with them, which is pretty interesting. So were you planning on going and listening to that webinar, or is that just something that was kind of piqued your interest and you might look at it?
I'll probably look at it. Yeah, it just piqued my interest. because I'm building out an inside team, and just like the leader of your company and what he has to say, I thought, okay, I'll check this out. I really thought it would be more around. I mean, I just got to listen to the first part of it. It might be different once
And I want to pause there and kind of break that down too. So this is a little bit of a failure on me as one of the founders of the company, that Pete's saying, I think we have an integration with Connect Leader. Connect Leader is a dialing technology, kind of like a Connect and Sell, Connect Leader, Monster Connect, more in that category. But they also have regular dialing, more like a Zant, a Sales Loft and Outreach, and they also have finally cadence capability. So it's all of the above, and they're one of the players in the market. Never heard this before. They just switched from Dialpad to Connect Leader, but Pete should know that. Pete should know that, and that's a failure on me. You got to separate training and coaching. Training is teaching someone something new. I had a training moment there, not a coaching moment. I had to tell them that we have that. And actually, one more thing I'm going to put in that comment, come to think about it, is I'm going to say, please ask Julia how to see the integration documents. And the reason I'm doing this is Pete is about to get promoted. He's a pretty dang good SDR. He's been hitting numbers for a long time, and he's right on the cusp of getting promoted. Actually, he might have been already. And this is the sort of thing, as an account executive, he has to know right off the bat. So if he can get with Julia, who does implementations, I'm even going to tag her here so that she sees this, so that she knows to send those documents, because we could send the integration documents to this prospect. Awesome. So far, in terms of if I'm a marketer or if I'm a chief revenue officer or a sales manager or anything, and this is the call that I'm getting, I'm pretty happy. We're talking about setting, level setting here. This is a prospect who didn't even attend the webinar that was promoted. He signed up, never attended it. He was able to pivot the conversation with the prospect's help. That was the one sticking point. He said, he was about to let the fish off the hook. Fortunately, the fish said, no, I want to stay on the hook and see what happens. And now we've got a really good conversation about what's going on. And this is someone we can help. They got 30 or 40 reps using Connect Leader. This is a great fit for us.
Get to listen to the rest of it instead of just 15 minutes. I thought it might be more around about building out teams once you got it internally, like how that would be structured, how cadences, things more around that, because from the talent, we kind of, I don't want to say we have that nailed down, but more direction of what we look for in that versus
right.
Just because there've been so many failures and not looking for the right thing.
Yeah, no, you're preaching the choir. I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I actually did just look up. We actually are integration partners with Connect Leader. So, if you are using that as a dialer, that's definitely intriguing there. Obviously, if you're familiar with John, I'm sure you're familiar with what we're doing, and clearly you guys are all forward thinkers. If you're taking time to listen to webinars about how to build up teams, I definitely would recommend giving that a listen. But I'm not sure if you're comfortable with this, but if you would want to listen to this,
so I love that he's going for the time. But hold up, Pete. If you're listening to this, hold up, Pete. Change the offer. This guy's like, oh, I thought this was more about team building. All that sounds great. That Gong competitor called Exec Vision, that technology that integrates with Connect Leader is wonderful. But really, I need help building a team. So this is where I would say you want to think about your offer. So Pete's offer leading into this is schedule time for one of our account executives. That's a typical offer for a sales development rep, business development rep, account development rep, you name it. Change the offer. What can we use as an offer? And the answer is use me. Put me as the bait on the hook, because I work with teams all the time to help with team building. I can share my slides with Brian, get on the phone and do a private call with him. And it sort of feels like he didn't hear him, so get me on a private call with Brian. This will be very valuable for him. Put me as the bait on the hook.
Put down some time to see, how we could actually pair with Connect Leader in the upcoming weeks. I would definitely be interested in that if that's something you're open to.
Yeah. Well, I'm very much a straight shooter, and to be honestly with you, I'm okay having a conversation with you about that, but I know for sure that there is zero interest with their large outside sales team in doing anything associated with that at this point in time. Because I was trying to sell the idea of utilizing Gong or a type of technology from that, and didn't want to do it. The only thing they wanted at that point was just technology, as far as the recording. They wanted a recording because that's what they were sold before on another platform, and the only thing that they got was just the actual transcript. They wanted a recording. So I'm just telling you that because I don't want to mislead you and think, hey, this is a potential good lead. This might potentially turn into something, because I know that I couldn't bring something on board unless there was a much larger interest in the organization. No matter how bad that I might think, hey, I could utilize this for my team, I don't have enough people yet to justify that, from an organization standpoint. Does that sound fair?
No, that's very fair. And just just for a little more clarity, it sounds like you're someone who obviously sees value in having.
I love this. So now we're hearing some really classic objection handling. This is what Pete has been trained to do. He does it awesome. I'm even going to highlight that objection handling right now, green, because this is beautiful. He immediately flips into, almost unconsciously, he's not even thinking about it. I want you to hear this again, because this is just world class. You're going to hear this kind of like, field people, I'm only me. Listen to how he pivots it with the empathy. He's going to bring empathy, and after that, he's going to bring it back to trying to book the meeting.
In the organization, no matter how bad that I might think, hey, I could utilize this for my team, I don't have enough people yet to justify that, from an organization standpoint. Does that sound fair?
No, that's very fair. And just for a little more clarity, it sounds like you're someone who obviously sees value in having like a conversation revenue intelligence tool more than others. It also sounds like you're building out that inside team you're growing the team or scaling it.
Yeah, I'm actually rebuilding the team. We had a team that wasn't so successful, and started all over again. So I'm in charge of rebuilding a team.
That is so awesome. He empathizes, actively listens, and redirects back to the topic that matters. Pete, well done on this. Just change the offer. Get me on the call.
Okay, that is a lot clearer. And then you said that team it's currently 5 people, and the outside team is 30.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate the honesty, because obviously I don't want to waste your time or my time. But I mean, if you want to take a look at us so you can kind of see down the line when that does fit, you definitely would have us in addition to Gong in your back pocket. I definitely would be interested in that, just so you kind of have a better understanding of where we play in that space.
Yeah, I would be open to that. Give me a couple of weeks to, listen to the recording and say, call back in 3 weeks or so, and we can compare calendars. I'm always interested to see what's out there.
Okay.
But that's fair enough.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'll give you some time to listen to the recording, and I'll shoot you over an email in the next couple of days. And if it's something that you see, you want to learn a little bit.
Aha, and Pete walks away. So let's score this. This is going to be fun and interesting. All right, does the rep open the call with implied or explicit permission? Continue. That sounds natural. He's just so good at this. I mean, that was very smooth. Pre-call research was just dynamite. Name dropping and existing technologies. Just smooth, clean, simple. Got this guy in system 2. Cold call turns into a 9-minute call. This is how you do it. Common challenges. Talking about those issues around recording. I thought that was quite solid. The value prop, very solid around the tech. I wouldn't give him a 5, but really good. Status quo, he really got all that. He sort of sucked the marrow out of that one. That was very good. The only reason I'm going to give you a 4, only reason it's a 4 is because the only reason it's a 4 is because you didn't ask about online meeting tools for the field, like Zoom, WebEx, and stuff like that. For the outside, what they call outside reps. I should really actually use the same terminology for the outside rep. Sometimes they call it field reps, sometimes outside reps. Question, does the rep ask questions about team, total number yes, you know, you could have gotten more out of that. Okay, objection handling. This is where I start to slide back. You know, that was solid objection handling, but he missed the mark on the offer. This is where I'm going to go for some lower scores in the conversation skill. This, to me, the biggest thing is he didn't hear. He was so interested in trying to figure out about Connect Leader and if we have that integration. So Pete, this is the one. And by the way, 3 is average. 3 is a good score. He did objection handling well. He just didn't connect it to the right offer. The next steps, he asked for the time twice. That's good. Didn't connect the dots though. So Pete, this is the area of focus for this call. You need to worry less about the integrations and more about what the prospect says his immediate needs are. He needs help and advisory on building the team so it doesn't fail again. Use me as the bait on your hook, to use a fishing metaphor. Boom, let's see how we calibrate. All right, so now that we scored it, pretty good. Okay, 5 and a 4, 5 and a 5, 4 and a. He did a not applicable. I thought it was a common challenge, but sometimes we don't have alignment there. This is good, this is good, this is good. So I would go back to him and argue on this one that you did ask for next steps 2 times. Just because you don't get it doesn't mean you didn't ask. So you did it. It was solid. But let's see what he has to say here. Need to stop jumping around, dictate the flow of the conversation, but do that around what the prospect is saying so you show you're listening. And I love this because what this is demonstrating is when you flip the coaching paradigm on its head, get every one of your reps to listen to one of their own calls per week and score it and comment on it, just like Pete did here. He's going to self-correct based on this. He heard it. He heard the same thing I did. And when I get together with him, I'm going to go, Pete, if there's one thing you're going to change about this call that you could have changed, if you go back in time, what would it be? And he'll say, I should have focused on, it's right there. I love this. I need to listen to the prospect and focus on the things that they're saying that matter to them. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So this is exactly how we do it. Final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the keyword topics because one thing that dawned on me as we were doing this is how people talk about field sales forces. So we have a lot about field reps and field enables. This is a tracker. This is a keyword topic tracker that you're looking at, but I don't know if we have anything on outside sales team, and we don't. Now, I don't usually hear people refer to it as the outside sales teams, but that word outside is, you know, outside sales or the outside reps or the outside team. All those phrases are really different ways of saying field reps or those kinds of things. So I added that. So now moving forward, whenever we're qualifying on team, we're going to get a tracker that's going to go into the calls for the SDR's calls, because we have, again, those trackers set up for that. All right, everyone, that's your call coaching call camp for today. Enough about that for today. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this fine American beer, Budweiser, and bid you adieu. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope it helped you learn a couple things. And if I can help you in any way, connect with me on LinkedIn. You know, as you see, I'm here to help first and foremost, and I'm here to sell second. Have a good one.